This is the first episode of the Flow Bros podcast. This is the pre-flight check. Ready to go? 1, 2, 3, we're live.
What's up, guys? Flow Bros, episode 1. Getting it on, man. Getting on.
Yeah, so it's nice that at least three of us made it out tonight, you know?
Yeah, and this is the three of us are. I'm Brandon Trong. This is Min Mio, and this is Billy Best. And welcome to the first episode of the Flow Bros podcast. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Cheers,
all right.
cheers,
Have some
cheers.
of this tea here.
Have some of this tea, yeah. All right.
Inaugural tea ceremony.
Just to give you a quick introduction to what the Flow Bros podcast would be, it's pretty much a stream of consciousness of all the members of the podcast. Some members aren't here right now, as mentioned earlier, by Min saying that at least the three of us can make it, but they're here in spirit, and you'll see them throughout the coming episodes. But yeah, so it's a stream of consciousness of whatever's on our minds. It might be commentary on particular current events. It could be our thoughts on specific subjects like meditation, nootropics, consciousness, drugs. That's a big one. And
Mental fitness.
mental fitness
Yeah,
and
yeah.
physical fitness.
Physical fitness as
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
A wide range of things. We do the whole gamut of
Gambit,
things
yeah.
here. And there will be other segments too. Like a lot of us are pretty into the whole finance and things like cryptocurrency markets, even just traditional stock markets. So sometimes we'll talk about the crypto scene, talk about how
A lot of
there's bullish and
economics.
bearish trends, and economics in general.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
We'll talk about a lot about world politics, I think, in the forthcoming episodes, and so those will tie into there as well.
But yeah, for today's episode, we'll probably keep it a little bit light and fun, so not to,
Yeah,
keep things lighthearted.
it won't be like a deep dive into like Iranian and Saudi Arabian relations and the whole situation in Yemen. We're not going to broach
Yeah,
that right
we're
now.
not gonna get into country relations or ideology too much. We probably won't get too deep into like consciousness. Might talk about a little bit about drugs and consciousness, but
Yeah, we always
But,
might throw a little bit of drug speech in there.
you'll find a lot of drugs and consciousness on the Flow Bros.
Yeah, well, on us and within us as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Especially the drugs part.
Mhm.
All right. So, our first topic of the day, and I think this is a topic we're going to revisit later. I know there's a lot of preamble words. I'm just going to get right to it. In the future, is that I want to talk about meditation. And I want to talk about why is meditation not as mainstream as having a cup of coffee in the day, as getting caffeine in the day, and what if the world was like if mainstream meditation was a commonplace thing, like it occurred.
It was like normal. It was
Yeah,
like,
it was like everyone like as common as brushing your teeth. People just meditate right in the morning,
Yeah,
right at
yeah,
lunch.
yeah.
Interspersed, whatever it may be.
Yeah. You know what? It's fun. Like, it's funny that you mentioned like why isn't it popular in like, everyday, as an everyday exercise almost even. Because meditation dates back so far, so it's been around for as long as history pretty much, and yet it still hasn't been popularized. And yeah, no, and why is that? Like,
Well,
You
no,
know-
it is pretty popular.
You know what?
It is now.
I think it is
but-
popular. I think meditation exists in different forms. So not all forms of meditation are like, we call it meditation. I don't know where the word meditation even comes from. Is that like what the monks call it? Is that like a translation? But it doesn't matter because like when we think of meditation, we think of like the closing your eyes, like tuning out the mind. We think of like this kind of thing. But I
Right.
think a lot of forms of meditation come from activity or from like maybe, I know if we said we were going to talk about like religion, but I'm not going to go into religion. But I think some aspects of religion have like meditative like qualities to it.
Yeah.
Maybe like rituals or events, like things they do, like ceremony,
Mm.
might have a meditative.
Well, my mom said, I remember when we were working in the restaurant together, a form of meditation for her was just simply doing the rote tasks that were required of her to get the restaurant running. So just peeling shrimp after shrimp after shrimp after shrimp, deveining them, doing the whole thing, prepping them, putting them away. That in itself was meditation,
Dude, I
or
like that.
meditative,
I like
because
that.
it was the same thing over and over. She became so in a loop, but it wasn't
Like
like
a
a bad
trance?
loop. It was sort of like a
Mhm.
trance.
I think
and-
it's a good metaphor for like or example of how you can meditate. I think you can meditate 24/7, right? Like you can meditate. You could have wakeful meditation,
Yeah.
just being like aware of like what you're doing, being aware of like being conscious of the act of what you're doing, and
So what is meditation then? Like at the, I guess, root essence of it, like what, what does it involve as far as like maybe
think
does it stem from a certain state of mind that you reach?
I think
and that is
states. I
meditation.
think states of mind are
Definitely tied into what meditation.
states
is.
of mind are like what would you call it? Like it's like a reaction. Like it's caused by it. I think it's like a I can't think of the
Where
word.
do you find the connection between the flow state and being in deep meditative trance? Do you think they're synonymous with one another? Do you think they are the same, or is there
Yeah,
a functional difference? Is one a subset of another?
I think it depends on what you mean by flow state and trance, but I think generally they're coming from the same place. Like they might be like slightly different depending on like you and what you think of it. Like when I think of flow state, to me flow state could be more like a flexible thing. I think it could be more of like information coming in, but you're dealing with it in a different way.
Oh, like you're in an active manner in dealing with it.
Or it could even be more close to like the I already forgot the first or the other state. What
Well,
was
it
it?
doesn't have to be active. It could also be a mental thing.
It could be
as well.
passive, yeah.
Yeah,
it
like
could
you.
be like.
And you know what? I feel like
But I think the other one. What was the other state? Sorry.
Well, I just meant like
There's
in a
flow
deep
state?
meditative trance, like
Yeah,
flow state,
trance,
like,
trance.
Like,
I think
is there?
I think trance compared to flow state is more defined. Where I think trance is when you transcend your body and you become just like conscious, and you're just kind of aware of your consciousness, and you don't. Everything around you is gone, and I think in flow state you could be in that realm, or you could also be in other spectrums. That's what I think of meditation.
So there's actually a couple situations that one can experience a flow state in, and typically it comes in either back in the days it'd be in battle when warriors would go to battle, and in a fight you become, it's like fight or flight, but when you choose to fight you enter a flow state, which allows you to basically
Well, you're predisposed to enter a flow
You're, like,
state.
super
You may
in
not-
tune.
because
right?
of the
Yeah.
environment, yeah. And another
Circumstances.
right, yeah, environment, circumstances, and even when you're in sports and you really get into like even in a run, you get into a runner's high flow state.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But-
You've experienced.
But do you think? Do you think so?
So it'd be-
What I would say wakeful meditation is then is like making that choice to be in that state rather than have a situation force you to be in that state,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like, so having the discipline to keep yourself there, put yourself there, and keep yourself there. Yeah.
and spectacularly by purely mental means.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I think when it comes to battle or like to running, there's a lot of physicality in
Right.
inducing that flow state. Like I do think that does play a role. Like getting your body in overdrive in a sense, right? Like I think that has, and because you're also
effect.
principally I think acting with your body in that specific kind of flow state too, in those
Right.
specific scenarios. And I think it's interesting that like, or I wonder like what the question for me is there a correlation between the two? What do they share, the mental and the physical, or is it a red herring that they both have the same kind of effects, but they come about in totally different neurological or
I think they
Chemological.
come from the same place. Like they both stem from control, like having that disciplined control of your consciousness and what you're doing with it, and
Yeah.
not letting it roam to whatever else can be, siphoning off consciousness.
Yeah, maybe. I think flow state is like a state of hyper focus, whereas trance is like it's a different stream of like.
it's still focused.
I think it's
yeah.
like hyper focus, but it's like effortless hyper focus.
uh,
You know what I mean?
effortless versus like the flow state would be very concerted effort.
Yeah, you'd be directing your effort.
Yeah.
No, wait, like flow state? No, flow state would be effortless.
Effortless, yeah.
Yeah.
Flow
It's
state
kinda
would be
like,
effortless.
when Goku enters Ultra Instinct. And then watch Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah. Okay. So that it's funny that you would ask me that because Ben asked me earlier today. He was like, Brandon, you ever watch Dragon Ball Super? I'm like, a little bit. He's like, Ben, or he asked Brandon, what is Ultra Instinct? I'm like, I wouldn't know, Ben.
That would be flow state.
That
That
would be flow
flow
state.
state,
Yeah.
yeah. Hell yeah.
Hmm.
Flow state is pretty much when there's no lag between thought and action. You move instantly based on what the environment and situation demands of you. You know what I mean? Like, for example, if you're in a house that's burning down, when you're in a flow state, like flight or flight.
Your body's like psychic.
Yeah, you move instantaneously. For example, if you wouldn't stand there and start, mentally jabbering to yourself about what to do. Your instincts kick in. You're in flow state, and you just move.
Yeah, yeah.
So you do think instincts do play a large role in
I think your
flow
sense.
state,
I think
like
your
that's a-
sense. I think you're so in tune with your senses that you're processing at such a fast pace that
Like
it almost
overdrive.
it almost seems like you're predicting like the future.
Mhm.
But no, I don't think that's what's happening. I think what's happening is that you're just so like your body's just fucking
It's kind of like
it's like it's like super optimal operating.
100%. Have you seen that
computations.
movie, Limitless?
Yeah,
No, but
with
I
the
watched
Bradley
I watched
Cooper?
the trailer because
You've
It's-
never seen Limitless?
Brandon referenced me to what is his name, Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, Bradley Cooper.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. What about Limitless?
And
though?
I think it really portrays like flow state well
Oh,
as far as like
yeah.
like when he's like takes the pill.
You,
and
you like that popular culture?
But it does it through
portrayal
it
of
does it
flow
through
state,
it does it through
like,
taking
in
a
that.
drug.
I do
in
like it. I
Cooper's
think it's
character.
pretty
You think
good.
it's like that?
I feel like it represents it well. I don't know.
I think it is. I think Min's got it on the nail head.
Yeah.
I think it's exactly that. Just the way they chose to represent it is induced through a drug,
Yeah. Instead of
rather
like
than like
But
the mental
imagine
discipline.
being like that. all the time.
circumstances of like your body,
Yeah.
consciousness, just all the
And they
stimuli
might be
happening at once.
exaggerating it a little, you know. What I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
totally. Yeah, yeah.
Of course, right? Hollywood.
Yeah, I would agree. I do think it's like that's how I would conceive flow state to be too. At least in my own
Experience.
anecdotal, experiential
Mm.
observations, like that is what I think flow state would be. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
It's nice to have a mindful like conversation on it too, because like you could even practice meditation and all that thing, but just to think deeply about what the thing is that you're doing to really understand what you're doing. It's like,
Yeah.
you know.
And tying it back into meditation and incorporating it into your daily practices, I feel like if you're able to practice meditation more, it allows you to just naturally enter these, I guess, more efficient state of mind more easily and more readily accessible. It's kind of like if you don't use it, you lose it, and if you practice something, you get better at it. Same thing.
Not only if you don't use it, you lose it. I think the longer you don't use it, the worse off it gets.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can
It's
see
like-
that. Like it's a muscle, and if it's
And it
not
could-
constantly
and it could-
stimulated,
and
it
it's
will
also-
lose its
Right.
strength.
And it's
Yeah,
it's an
atrophy, yeah,
it's also an accumulator. So like it accumulates. I don't know if you want to call it stress, but it accumulates something, and it gets like worse and worse. Like it gets more noise, less efficient, like worse.
Less able to deal
Right.
with
Yeah, it's
all
less
the
able.
noise and the signal.
It has less
Yeah.
processing power.
Yeah.
It's less able.
It's kind of like when you can remember back to when you were young, like let's say elementary days, right? And you're out with your friends during recess, and you're having these wild adventures that you're coming up with like your imagination, like the most
Oh, yeah.
absurd
Yeah,
things,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And
Mm.
that
and
imagination,
there's like visuals. Too.
yeah, and visuals, and it's just like clear as day in your mind, and you're playing it out, right? And that level of creativity is so strong when you're young, but because of institution of education and the structure of it, it kind of like slowly degrades it, right?
It doesn't facilitate
it doesn't facilitate
And then
it.
if you don't use it, you lose it.
Right, and
right?
and like it ties into what we were just talking about. And so by the time you graduate high school, by the time let's say you graduate college or university, a lot of that has been so atrophied that like
And it's not
But
rewarded.
so
It's generally
regardless if it's atrophied at that point,
it's
can you
atro-
not can you not bring it back?
Oh, you
can
can
not
definitely bring it
nurture
back.
to that life,
I
to that
think
vibrance of,
you could
of
definitely
youth.
bring it back.
a
Yeah.
shortcut to bringing it back. Mushrooms, magic.
Mushrooms is the shortcut.
Definitely
But
a shortcut.
but I don't think it's like the end all answer. And I think I think mushrooms are like a strong like slap in the face, wake you up kind of thing.
Yeah.
But after a couple of days, like some effects of the mushrooms, I think will last you for months. But you're gonna go back into your own old grooves, old routines,
Right.
old things, and if you don't, like, it'll reset the patterns. But then after that reset, you got to take charge and make
It'll
sure.
give you a warning in your console log of life.
Mhm.
But it's
It'll
not
give
gonna
you
give
it'll give you a harsh wake to reality.
Yeah.
It'll wake
yeah.
you up.
Either you can
Yeah.
choose to read the warning in the console log, or you can
Yeah.
dismiss it.
Yeah.
But if you choose to follow it, it'll lead you down the path on solving that little warning, and
Mhm.
you won't have to face the errors that would otherwise.
Well, you'll
commit
have to face
if you
them.
let it keep on stewing about.
I think you still have to face them.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you're
That's by
like,
going through like
the
in my
airs,
metaphor,
yeah.
you heed the warning and
Yeah.
you look,
Yeah.
you read it.
I think that's what the
you
mushrooms
go.
is.
Yeah.
The slap or the wake up is it forces you to face your errors
Right.
in that moment, and that moment could be terrifying. It could be
Because you're facing
like
yourself.
mushrooms could be a great experience. They don't have to be scary, but I'm saying like,
So do you guys want to all talk about a specific mushroom experience that you've had, either one of the most significant or one of the most, you know,
just how about just our
influential?
perception and thoughts of mushrooms
How about
in general?
just anything?
Share a story. Let's all share
Yeah.
one mushroom
Yeah,
story.
one
Okay.
mushroom story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Billy?
Shit.
Too many to choose from?
I need to think for like at least a minute to think of like which one I
Alright.
want to talk
So
about.
to give context to the viewers, I think all of us, I know Billy and I for sure, and I think Min quite a number of times, we've done mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms,
Lots of times. I
untold
don't-
number of times.
I
think,
consider myself like a psychonaut.
yeah,
I'm like
I
a
consider
astronaut.
myself a psychonaut as well.
Astronaut of the mind.
Mhm.
I tend to agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Word of the day, folks, psychonaut.
What does that even
Explorer
mean?
of the mind,
Ah.
of the psyche,
Yeah.
of the limitless, hopefully, imaginative world of the mind.
Through many means, meditation, drugs.
All right. So
Uh,
I guess story time. I mean, I got a funny one.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
not. It's not even like meaningful, but it's just some trippy shit I saw.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this was probably the first time I had my first experience with mushrooms, and this is probably back in grade. I'm gonna say grade 11. Grade 11, high school.
Grade 11 was your first time with mushrooms.
I believe.
Yeah.
It was either 11 or 12, one or the
Yeah.
other. So, so I can't even remember the dose. It was a really small dose, and at first, I remember after consuming it, we were walking along the SkyTrain like street that follows the SkyTrain track.
Yeah, like by
From-
Edmonds?
yeah, by
Like that
Edmonds.
little forested path? the
Yeah.
little
Isn't that where we had our first mushroom
Dude,
experience? in?
that is. We walked right through that. I remember that one summer.
I remember
Anyway,
black.
sorry, Midge,
No, no,
let's
it's okay.
get back to your
Yeah.
story. Yeah.
Right. So we were walking along that trail, and then at first I'm like, guys, like, you know, I don't feel anything, I don't see anything. Like, did I take enough? And then I just recall looking at the pillar of the SkyTrain, and then it's a concrete pillar, and there was some, I guess, shadows or water markings on the pillar, and I just remember staring at it, and I could have sworn it made a face. And I didn't realize it at the time that the shrooms were kicking in. But I'm like, hey guys, look, there's a face on the pillar. I was
Oh,
just
dude,
like,
that's classic.
Yeah, right. I'm like, I didn't realize at the time, but I was starting to trip. And so we decided, what's that park right by Edmonds? Ron McLean?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
one where there's a big hill and there's a baseball
Yes.
field and
It
you can see
goes
up to
down
the
into
SkyTrain.
the
Yeah.
ravine. Yes.
Then there's like a small pool.
Yeah, that's the
yeah,
one.
by Jordan's
There's
place.
like the path in the woods in the back.
Yes, once the path to the woods. So our group decides to stroll down that park into the ravine path, which is like this wooded area that goes down deep. And so the shrooms then start to really kick in.
Yeah.
And then this is the craziest part, or the craziest visuals I've ever seen. I have never seen anything like it since in the future trips. But right, so we're walking through this forest. It's kind of getting dark. And I remember I could just see it clear as day, a figure. It was like a ghostly figure, because it was kind of like transparentish, of a dude in a KKK suit. So
what?
could you
Like the
imagine?
full white robe with the
Full
pointed
white-
hat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just remember walking through that forest. I could just see it on the right side of my eye as I was walking. It was like,
Freaky.
yeah. So I feel like most people would have started freaking out, but I told myself, Min, you're on shrooms right now. You're gonna see things you ain't normally gonna see. So you know what? Even if it's some crazy shit, it's best to just enjoy
Dude,
it and take it
That's a
for
good
what
way.
it
You
is.
handled it well for your first time. That's the
Yeah.
perfect
I love
attitude.
that your inner dialogue is like that dude in the KKK. Just enjoy it. Enjoy it. It's Clayton Bisbee from Dave Chappelle. Just enjoy that shit.
Yeah. No, and so that I was able to, and just like, when the hell do you see that? And anyways, and then we made our way over to our elementary school.
Yeah.
And we're just sitting on like the steps, and to end off the trip, I just remember we were just staring up at the clouds. It was already dark, and the clouds were rolling by at a fairly quick pace. What it seemed that way anyway. And the clouds, you would see these almost like ghastly figures of skulls.
Skulls?
Yeah, like the clouds made skulls, and it was just like
Whoa.
rolling through the sky.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think that trip was on Halloween day too. So
Oh,
it all
trippy.
just like it all just tied in together like theme wise. But yeah, so that's my little story of my first trip and all the crazy shit I saw.
That was your very first trip.
Very first trip.
Oh, okay.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
I think I could play off that one.
Sure.
I think so. I believe this was my first trip as well, and it started off in the same place as Min, and this pre-warning ended up being like initially a bad trip, but then afterwards it's what really. It was like a few years later that this became a good trip, and then from there on, that's when I like really got into like the whole psychonaut thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this trip, I think we did about I want to say an eighth. I think we did like an eighth.
We ate about
They were-
eight
they were-
each
they-
person,
they
about
were-
3.5. Yeah.
They were. It was like a large, long stemmed mushroom. And
Some of the caps pretty thick.
yeah, and
Good,
it was
good blues.
It was really like the person who picked it obviously tested it for potency because there was like everyone had just one little mark and it was like a
Yeah,
really
to
deep
bruise it a little
potent
bit.
blue.
Yeah.
So like
I remember it being so.
yeah, they
like,
were really strong and
the
like
blue
even the
like
guy
this.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah and even the guy who got it he said these are like I don't know it was some like 100x shit. I don't know how the measurements or like shit goes, but it's supposed to be like the highest one, or it might have even been more. He just said it was like the most potent one that the guy had, and then yeah, so we took these mushrooms and we started walking down that same path behind the SkyTrain station,
Nice.
and I felt them kind of kicking. They kicked in really quick because I think we ate them. I'm not sure if we met up with you, but I think we met up with like Rory. I remember there was like a handful of people, but it was when those people finally met up with us that they kicked in and everything starts going blurry.
Oh yeah.
But we met up.
That timing
and-
feels about right with me.
And I
My
remember like
recollection of
I
it.
remember Rory and Doran for sure were there, and then there was this dude with like really blonde hair, and he was like new to me, but he was like cool with them. Like he was,
Peter.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Peter.
yeah, he was
Peter
cool.
Arnold,
He
yeah.
was cool. Like he wasn't like scaring me or tripping me out, but his golden hair was tripping me out.
Yeah.
And
So vibrant.
It's
It was,
super
dude. He had like Super Saiyan gold hair.
Yeah, no, it's true. Goku.
Dude, like no joke. He actually kind of looked like Vegeta, but if his hair was down. It was like it was.
Instead of, like,
Yeah,
straight
he
up.
He reminded me of like a Super Saiyan Vegeta with his hair down. But anyways,
Oh,
yeah.
dude,
So
that's a good image.
I kept like he just kept standing out to me. We start walking down this path, and then I start blacking out. But I'm blacking out, and the weird thing is that I never even thought about it. Is that I wasn't worried I was blacking out, but I cognitively knew. I remember like several times thinking, dude, you're blacking the fuck out. But every time I came to, I could hear all the guys around me. But we were always like progressing down this trail, so obviously I was blacking out, but I was still walking. So it was
Whoa.
like it was really trip.
Yeah.
And then, but then yeah, so I think I blacked out like 6 or 7 times. I don't think anyone even noticed. So obviously I was walking, like I wasn't like falling down or getting fucked
No,
up.
yeah, you were fine. Like you weren't like snappy. You weren't like athletic, but
Yeah.
you were making your way.
Like I
Yeah.
actually have no recollection of walking down the path other than like 6 or 7 glimpses of seeing the trees around me, seeing fucking Vegeta Super Saiyan dare, seeing what's his name, what was it? Peter.
Yeah.
And then thinking, who the fuck's that guy? And then I'd black out again, and then I'd come to, and we'd be some ways down the path, and I'm just like, dude, I'm blacking out, like just tripping. And then we get to that park that we were talking about.
Ron McLean?
Ron
I think it was
McLean.
Ron McLean. Yeah.
The one with the SkyTrain in the background
Yeah,
going
yeah,
over the top.
And that's when we would like sit down at like a picnic bench or something. Like I think we were sitting like at a bench and a tree, and we were like kind of on both. Like some people were on the ground on the grass, just like chilling. Some people were on the bench, like rolling joints. And we started smoking weed, and I remember them like, yeah, this will calm us down. This will be a good idea. And I think
We were
it
on
just,
that red bench table.
I think smoking the weed is what put me over, man.
Oh, yeah?
Like it didn't put me over, but like I ended up blacking out. Like I was just so high.
Right after that,
I
you
was
just
so
blitzed.
high. Like
Yeah.
I remember, like my last memories of the actual like tripping with it, all the guys, is like maybe we started rolling, someone started rolling, and then I think I blacked out again. Then we smoked weed, and then I think blacked out again. But I must have been up and active because no one was like, "Yo, you're blacking out."
Yeah, no one was like, worried.
Yeah, and I wasn't like on the ground and shit getting back up. I was just normal. It was just
Yeah.
like resume. And then I remember a few things after smoking weed. I remember like John Reckwick, he was wearing a blue shirt, and there was a swimming pool in the park, and it was all blue, right? And he kept walking. He was like pacing back and forth.
So it looked like.
Yeah, his blue shirt was blending in, and it just looked like a head floating back and forth. And I was just like, "Fuck, I'm so fucked. Like, what the fuck?" And then I remember talking to Dan, and then I think I was trying to tell Dan, like, yo, do you see this kind of thing? Like,
Yeah.
do you see John?
You see what's going on over there, bud?
And then I can't remember, like, the time dilation must have been crazy,
Yeah.
because I remember looking at him saying it, and then looking away, and then by the time I looked back, Dan was gone, and I was like, because I was still
Yeah.
talking. I was still talking. I was like, yo, do you see this shit? But I wasn't looking at him anymore. And then when I did look back, he was gone. And I'm like, dude, I've just been talking to Noah. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? And then I was like, Dan? And they're like, has anyone seen Dan?
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, Dan's gone. Like, yo,
Yeah.
Dan left like 10 minutes
Whoa.
ago. So the time dilation
yeah.
was crazy.
Yeah, Dan did dip early on that day. I remember that. Oh, shit. That was an intense day, man.
But yeah, after that memory, there was basically that. And then I blacked out, and I don't know how much time went by. But I remember waking up, and it was like dawn or dusk, like the sun was going down.
Yeah.
And I'm just in the park, and I was in the grass, and or no, it wasn't quite dusk. It was like going on dusk. It must have been like evening.
Just right after golden hour. Like
The sun was like just starting to set.
Yeah.
So there's still some sun, because I got up and went home at dusk. But so yeah, I remember getting up and looking, and I must have been really fucking high, man. I must have been like really high, because like I don't remember too much, but I just remember seeing people. And then this is the first time I felt the vibrations. After looking up and seeing people, and I realized I was in the park, I started feeling vibrations. I think I clawed the ground. I started clawing the ground, and yeah, I just like fucking rocket launched. Everything went black again, and this is the first time where I actually felt like the shuttling. Like the whole other times, I wasn't feeling no vibrations, no shuttling.
Yeah.
But this time I felt it, and that few years later, when I learned what DMT was, and people were talking about DMT, this was like a DMT experience. Like this was like getting shuttled off. I was floating around in space. I wasn't really seeing colors and entities, but I was in like a void of consciousness and like just a space.
Yeah.
And I remember being so tripped out, and I couldn't quite wrap my mind around it. And I remember I was still coming to every now and then, and I was fucking screaming, dude. Like people were walking by me, like, "Hey, do you need help?" And I was like, "Fuck off!" And I was
Yeah.
just like, I couldn't handle it. It was so much. And then eventually I woke up, and then that's when it was dawn, and it was
Yeah.
just like covered in grass, all fucked up.
Dirt
Didn't quite know where I
nails.
was. I
Yeah.
actually didn't know where I was, but I could hear the SkyTrain off in the distance,
Yeah,
and I was
I
like,
remember you
okay,
telling me
I'm
that.
gonna follow the train. And then I started piecing it together where I was, but it was the whole walk home was fucked.
Yeah.
Like, everything was off.
Wow, it's
Like,
crazy.
Yeah, it was really weird. Like there was a lot of like spatial distortion of objects. Like objects were like way out of scale. Like things were skinny or too big. Spaces were way big.
Proportions were just janky.
Like when I was walking up the SkyTrain, going up the hill, going towards the road, it looked like a quadruple wide highway. But I know it's only like 2 lanes on each side. I know
Yeah.
it's not that big, but it looked like fucking like a football field wide. But yeah,
That was a good story, Bill.
That was-
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, quite the experience.
Quite the experience. It's interesting hearing that story because I know I was there for parts of it.
yeah.
So it's always so. There's just something so intimate about hearing that specific day, but from such a different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first time we really launched off, so it was like.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that, I don't know about you, but I think it was at least like a couple years before I did
You got
mushrooms
back
again.
into the
Yeah.
mushrooms, yeah, because that trip was quite profound. I would say I think I was looking back on it now. I think I was quite fortunate to have my mushrooms experience the way they did, because prior to that trip, I actually remember drinking the tea with Dan back
Yeah,
at his
yeah,
house, and I
yeah.
think you were there too.
I think I might have
You
did,
must have been there.
but I didn't get that high.
Yeah, like we none of us
Oh,
tripped.
when Dan had that place to himself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
we had we brewed
smoked
the
a lot
tea.
of weed.
We smoked a lot of weed. We brewed the tea, and we put the tea in his freezer to cool it down quicker so we could get right at it because we were impatient.
Yeah.
In context, camera and audience, we were 12 to 13 at this age.
Oh wow.
Like,
Yeah,
we
we
were-
were like 13.
We were quite young.
Dang.
Quite young.
Brandon
but-
might have been 12.
I might have been 12
think
because I had a
me and
late
Dan-
birthday.
No, Dan has
Wow.
a pretty late birthday too. I might have been 13.
13 at the early.
Dan's birthday is what, August or some shit? I think
September?
September. It's later in
Hmm.
the year for sure.
Fuck, I feel bad not remembering now.
Yeah, I can't. It's been a while.
It has
He's
been a
been
while.
doing his thing.
Yeah, he's been doing his thing. Anyways, so, but that was actually the first time I had my first tango with shrooms. We drank the tea, and I remember Dan, he wanted to get me to get something back at my house, which was like 4 blocks down the street, down this hill, got across Kingsway, and I don't remember what I had to get, but I was so adamant on not wanting to go. Like I was so couch locked. It was it was less the weed and it was more the shrooms
Yeah.
that made me feel like I'm melting into this couch. I don't want to stop melting into this couch.
Which is bliss.
It was
Don't wanna
bliss, but
interrupt it.
also I did not want to make the journey. The journey just seemed so incredibly far and daunting.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I hadn't realized at the time was that like the shrooms were taking hold of me and they were fucking getting ready to send me to fucking Mars. Like like they were gripping my essence and they were about to launch me to the stratosphere. Because when I finally worked up the balls to fucking just get my ass out of the door and walk down to my home, I did it. Happened in an instant. I got to my home, got to my bedroom. I think it was like I was supposed to get weed or something. I was getting something like that. Grabbing it, I just remember sitting right at my bed and thinking,
I was gonna stay right here.
I can't do this. And I just broke down.
Oh,
And
shit.
what I didn't realize until later, and I had to make the connection, was that I had experienced ego death. Because the reason why I couldn't move from my spot, that I was so affixed to my bed, was that I had forgotten any sense of who I was, of what
You
my
were just
identity was.
Dematerialized.
I
almost.
dematerialized. I felt like this naked consciousness just floating
Yeah.
on the planet, and I had no relation to my physicality and its operation in that plane of existence, right? I was just like all mental, and I was just a floating sphere. This is analogy, and then terrified that
Yeah.
this was an experience I was having at that very given moment. I did not know how to process it because I was far too young, or maybe it wasn't about being too young, but I just simply did not have the knowledge to know what I was experiencing. And I think if I hadn't known the knowledge of it, then I would have been better equipped.
Prepared,
But at the same time, though, at the age of 12, 13, how much can you really understand the notion of like metaphysics,
Consciousness and-
consciousness?
Yeah.
Like that's a bit, I think, over the head for a kid.
That's a scary, and that's the thing. I think for most people is just the overwhelming fact that you cannot wrap your mind around the experience,
Yeah.
and that's what can create a bad experience for some people.
Totally. And at that time for me, it was a terrible experience. It was
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
bad. I was
It's
so not
uncomfortable.
wanting to be in that state.
Yeah.
Because it was like, imagine you had like one of the most primal fears of your body. And it was just so rooted deep in your chest and it was just gnawing away at you. And you're like, that was the feeling of not knowing who I was, or what I was doing, or why what anything was.
Yeah.
Just not understanding. I could no longer interpret the universe, and it was paralyzing. And then I eventually worked up the sensibility to bring myself back to Earth
Yeah, yeah.
and make it back up to dance. But it was an ordeal.
Yo,
And
question for you. At
yeah.
any point, did you cry? Did you have tears? Not necessarily crying like you're like hurt or scared.
I don't know.
But just crying out of almost like beauty of the situation, even though it's like
No,
scary.
I don't think I was crying.
Okay. Have you ever cried on mushrooms?
I have, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I had one really profound moment where I just let loose, and it's weird. I don't know if many humans have ever experienced this, because this is the first time I had experienced this ever in my life, crying in this specific manner. But it felt like I had two taps that went straight from my face up to right through my eyes, and they were like thick, like half a centimeter, 5 millimeter taps with good flow, high pressure, and they just sprung on and it just dripped. And it was such a straight stream, just like in an anime or like a cartoon, just straight down my cheeks. And I remember my friend Matt was there with me, and I had turned right to him and I said, "Why?" with like a real strong, empathetic, emotional why. And I looked straight at him and I just cried. I just cried. And then he had a very perplexed face. But the reason why I was saying why is because at that trip, at that point in the shroom trip, I had come to like this epiphany that if we were living in a simulation, then that means my experience must be of a calculation of someone else's. Not that it's like invalid, but that I am arisen from a progenitor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because in a way they would be
What
our.
if I just sort of say, what if?
Yeah.
What do you think about them being you and this experience of you? Just what separates you from them, but you actually are them. Them is you.
Whoa. Well, okay, yeah.
But like, you know how like, you do mushrooms?
mean,
Like when you do
yeah.
mushrooms, we've talked about how or I don't know if it's a theory or a common acceptance, but like we're like dissolving filters, right? And
Yeah.
You're experiencing almost like a raw
common thing we can
reality
talk
or like
about
a
with
raw.
mushrooms.
Yeah, yeah.
The whole filter dissolving.
So like, what if what if we all are one? We all are from like the same source, or like most of us.
I mean, well, we are if you go by the Big Bang Theory.
yeah,
We all come from the same source.
yeah.
Even through the infiniteness of what we are.
Yeah.
It's all from the same thing.
So we all come from the same thing. What if our individualism was just one of those filters, and our perception of this like personal experience is just one of those filters?
Mm-hmm.
And when you take off the filter, you go into the oneness. You go into the,
Right.
you know, that's what you
Okay,
start
yeah.
going into.
I mean, it could be. I feel like when we talk about these things, it's hard to differentiate, especially in the language of describing these things, the
Right,
biases,
Yeah.
the semantic meanings of what we're discussing on this very subjective experience.
Well, that's what I think.
And
That's what
there's-
I'm saying. It's
yeah.
only like a one point of view or one theory. It's not even like a really theory. It's not developed up enough.
You
But
know
that's something
what?
that's a take I've been exploring.
Like the interesting thing about what you've just said is that, and what you've said, the subjectiveness of this experiences, of these mushroom experiences and these, I guess, enlightening realizations is that even though they're so subjective, there's so many commonalities that
Yeah.
are shared
Yeah.
among
Participants?
the participants.
Yeah.
And see,
right.
sorry to interrupt you, but that's what like we've also talked about, like, and not even just us, but it's even brought up a lot. It's one of the things that like disclaim or like take away from people's like experiences. I feel like is attributing someone's experience to looking for pattern, or not even just looking for patterns, but like, you know, like their mind
Correlation.
is like making it up kind of thing, or like, or they're looking for it to make it up.
Right.
But then, like you said, these correlations between people, and sometimes not even, it doesn't even have to be mushrooms. It could be like with drugs, without drugs. People just have these like, I don't want to say holy, but like, what's the good word? Like religious experiences, I guess, or like spiritual experiences. And it brings them to these same conclusions. Like they come to the same like, similar thoughts.
Yeah, like it. Well, maybe it has to do with something about. My hypothesis is when we as humans look to find rationality, to find explanation, to find some sort of structure or framework to the idea of our existence and what it means to inhabit this frame of consciousness and the implications of our existence, like what are we meant for, right? Why are we here? We
Yeah.
question our very quality of our being.
Yeah.
And religion is a path for that, because I think religion, it gives you straight answers, right? In their own particular paradigm, their own take on it. And
Do they though?
well,
I feel like they
well,
give
I
you,
mean, that's what they say, right?
I feel like they give you more coping mechanisms.
Well, no, sure, no, but regardless of like what the how is, right?
Yeah.
Like how it's done.
Or the why.
But what they're doing is they're giving you the equation, right? But then when we talk about drugs, but then we talk about it from the bent of us knowing that we're psychonauts, that we're doing drugs, that we're looking for these psychedelic, psychoactive experiences to bring us to some sort of
Greater
proposed greater understanding, notion of existence in our consciousness. Are we're perhaps trying to find the same answers as some religions, especially, and I
Right.
feel like in the mysticism branches of religions, like in
Oh,
Islamic
definitely.
mysticism and Christianity,
Yeah.
in Christianity and mysticism of their branches, they developed a lot of similar like rituals that you would find very comfortable
Honestly-
with doing yourself.
Honestly, I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of religion, I think, comes from. Could possibly, I could totally see how people might think some religions might come from drugs, because like the whole notion of God created you in His image. God is like, if God is source, this is why I always talk about like, I brought up my theory kind of like a couple times. It's not even solely my theory, because a lot of people come to the same conclusion. But it's like if we're all coming from the same source, and we were made in God's image, there's a strong correlation to like biblical aspects there. It's like we are, like God is within us. Like we are the source. We are Him. We are the one consciousness. We are that that one thing. And for me, at least on my current like thought or like route, I think there might. for me personally, at least for like the time being, I think the one of the paths or one of the ways to find out the why are we here? Because I don't believe religion gives us the why. I think it gives us coping mechanisms. They might give you.
No, but like they do give you a why. You can't deny that.
Yeah, they're kind of like this is.
It might you might argue that it's a false why.
It doesn't satisfy me.
Sure.
Oh no, for sure.
But
Subjectively
it,
speaking.
it might like if we're gonna be like
Well,
empirical
what would
about
you,
this.
what would
I
you
do
say?
think it does give
What
you
would
a
you
why.
say the why of like? So what would you say the why? Like, what's the meaning of this? For why are we doing it? How does religion tell you why we're doing this?
Well, no. Let me just say that I think we can't discount someone's own subjective understanding of their religion that answers.
I don't think you have to. I don't
answers
have.
fears or like whatever
Yeah.
malcontents in their own being, right? Or like gives them hope, brightness, guidance. I think even if we don't agree with it, we can't deny their own
Right.
agency
Yo,
in,
and
how-
in,
and
in
how it
this
helps
kind of
them.
discussion.
But I'm not saying to
Yeah.
deny it. I'm just saying to say it. Like say it. I'm not denying it. I just want.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not religious, so I can't.
Yeah.
I can't offer you that point of view. We'd have to bring on someone that does have that perspective and
Yeah.
would speak honestly and earnestly.
If
their own
anyone, if
experience.
anyone thinks religion gives you the why we're here, give us a shout.
Give us a shout. Just send an email to.
We're not trying to get salty. We're not trying to argue. We're not trying to get.
Just leave a comment down below at the YouTube section.
Yo,
Yeah.
we just want to have
Bam.
honest discussion and explore
Yeah.
ideas, man.
We love to be
Yeah, man.
proven wrong. Like I love to be proven wrong because that means, like obviously, like you don't know everything in life, and to be humbled again to know that okay, yeah, I was
I
wrong.
need a little spark. Is it
Is
going?
Do you need to spark it up?
Yes,
It's
I got
good.
it.
It's humbled.
You know, I guess my new perception of purpose of religion, or at least how I view it now, is it almost acts as, if you want to, yeah. So it almost acts as a OS system for a person. You know what I mean? Of like an
Organized
operating system
society.
of how, of like how you want to, I guess, frame yourself in your life and like how you
Yeah.
approach it. Like
It gives you the tools. For me, I agree with that. I think it gives you the framework to navigate life, but I don't think it gives you
that complete answers. And I'm
the
not saying it
detailed why.
100%. Like, and I feel
Just
like
opinion.
you know a lot of people aren't open to trying mushrooms or psychedelics just because it seems so, because of whatever reasons, like
And,
biases and
Yo,
stigmatisms, right?
just like another, just kind of like I don't know. I'm not trying to support my argument. I'm not even really having a real like I don't really have an argument or too much
We're
thought
just
on this.
discussing.
Like I don't have like a staple. Like I don't have something like I stand for. I haven't thought about this enough. But like another example could be like many religions, even though they could be very different, they provide the same values. Like people get to the same point
You know,
through different things.
a lot of
And
religions
that
have a
point
lot
is
of
that
parallels.
navigation. I think
Mhm.
being able to navigate. So they have a successful life. They might be educated. They might have a happy life with a family and friends, and everything's healthy. And they could have that through different means, like different religions.
Oh,
religious
100%.
means, but
100%. And like,
same
you know, when
tools.
you look at these different religions, you see a lot of commonalities. Like, like for example, a common one is like, oh, be good to thy neighbor. And you look in other religions, there's some similar phrase that says pretty much the exact same thing. You know what I mean? Like, do good unto others and they'll do good unto you. And you look at other religions, you'll see something that's similar to that. So,
the whole notion
yeah.
of karma.
and yeah, exactly, right? So I feel like, yeah. So it ties into what you just said earlier about like the
Sure,
different
sure.
paths, but they all, at the core of it, all religions are trying to promote something good, the goodness, right?
They're all giving you that framework to
Yeah,
navigate.
yeah.
They're all giving you a framework that's going to keep you aligned. You're not going to go astray.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what they're giving you.
Yeah. Because like think about it, when you're born into this world, like what do you know? All you know is
But I
what
think-
you see and what people tell you and what you can pull in, like as
Yeah.
far as information goes, right? And if you're in an environment, let's say your family's super Catholic, that's your environment. That's what they're gonna bombard you with. You're a
Yeah.
newborn, you know nothing else. Oh, what Catholicism is the right
But
way?
you-
Okay, then you can absorb that, right?
Yeah.
Religion's a great way of organizing groups of people, right? And I think that's what you needed at the advent of the agricultural revolution, because you needed people, and a lot of like take Egypt for example, right? Their religious officials, they oversaw the grain harvest because they knew when to sow the grain and then to like irrigate it because of the Nile, because they knew how to like predict
cycles and
the
the
cycle of the
seasons,
Niles,
right.
and so they had that position. And over time, as you become overseas of food production, of such a critical thing of human survival, you gain power and prominence, right? And then over time, things get more ritualized. As human nature goes, prestige gets accrued with the position, and all the social dynamics of politics follows such an important piece of their survival of their state. And over time, it's interesting how when I look at religion, it's sometimes it seems so irrational, so like such great leaps of faith, right?
Yeah.
They're required of it. But at the same time, when I look at it from that lens of like an anthropological lens, where it is almost like a necessity of how humanity came to develop, at least
Right.
at some point, right?
Mhm.
And maybe we could have developed without it entirely, but I think if we're so predisposed to, if we lack information on something, then we must abstract and invent something, right?
Right.
I think that's a very human quality, and so maybe that quality went on overdrive, and that's how we came with religion, because we do need
Answers.
answers.
Like, what is the
We're much
sun
more
and-
comforted with
right.
certainty, even if it's a false certainty, improvable, than uncertainty constant.
Right.
I think
I
we
definitely
need. I think we
agree.
need. I think it provides us with like stability and comfort.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah.
Again, I don't believe it. It's not that I don't believe it gives you answers. I think it gives you a lot of hints, but you still got to connect the dots for yourself. And then one of those ways to connect the dots is to do some like mushrooms. Mushrooms is good. I don't have a wide variety range of psychedelics, but mushrooms is really good. I would imagine
Have you guys
like
done
ayahuasca.
salvia?
I would imagine ayahuasca. Oh yeah,
Salvia?
I've done a vague, like a light hit.
Oh my god, I gotta share my salvia story.
All right, let's hear this.
Let's hear your salvia story.
I can't remember the potency of it. It was like, I forget the X's. It goes like 10x.
Yeah, it's that
20x,
X
or-
system, right?
I can't remember
Well,
which
there's
one.
20x, 100x,
I think it was
10x.
20x.
Like there's typically people saw
Uh-huh.
that at the time I knew when salvia was getting a thing.
Yeah.
It was 10, 20x, and then sometimes people were like, "This is 100x."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Okay," and then it was, and then
And then it
sorry,
was. Then it was.
Okay. Right. So
But yeah, men, yeah.
I think I do recall it being 20x. So we picked some up at the store. You could just get it because it wasn't illegal at the time. And we went with 20x because I'm like, okay, first time I don't want to go too crazy, right? And so I go home. I'm doing it at night, right before I go to bed. I'm on my bed. I got a small little bong next to me. I loaded it with a bowl of salvia. Yes.
Before you talk about your story, you want to just describe what salvia is for the audience, just so if people don't know what salvia is, they're not as drug knowledgeable. Just give a quick brief down on what salvia is.
Salvia is honestly, I'm not overly technical about it either.
Yeah.
All I know, it's like this a leaf,
Yeah.
and I mean they prep it like they like you normally would any herbs. They dry it and then
And
it's
it's cured. Yeah.
crushed and ground up.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
from there is when you smoke it. I don't know any of the technical chemicals that cause it to be psychedelic.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, sorry.
That's right.
But it is a psychedelic.
Oh,
it's
it
a
is.
psychedelic.
Yeah, it's not.
100%. I'm
It's an
about to hear
psychedelic.
some crazy. This is probably something I'll never forget because it was just so intense and so
Profound.
profound of an experience. Yeah, it's just. Yeah, it's just insane. Okay.
Tell us about it, man.
All right, here we go. Ready? Okay, so I'm sitting at the bed. I'm super nervous because I've heard stories about how crazy this trip is.
Yeah.
And so I take a bit of coot. I hold it in my mouth for a little bit because I heard if you got instead of inhaling it, double inhaling into your lungs, you have to keep it in your mouth, and something about the saliva in your mouth causes it to make it more potent. I don't know. I might be just talking on my ass, but anyways, that's what I did, and then I blew it out the window. And as soon as I did that, I laid on my bed, right?
Yeah.
So blow out the window, boom, go down to lay on my bed.
How did it burn? Did it just instantly vaporize, or?
It was really dry, so yeah,
Yeah,
it
so,
burnt
like,
up. Yeah, it just burnt.
Yeah.
And the taste wasn't awful or anything. It's just I mean,
But no good highlights. The tasting notes were meh.
yeah, it just tastes like some dry herbs of some
Oh,
sort.
okay.
Yeah, some dry leaves or something,
Fair.
Right. So okay, as soon as my back hits the bed, it feels as if I got flipped over
Yeah.
on my bed, and then as soon as I flipped over, I was in a completely different space.
Yeah.
And in this space, I had no body. So there was no body. I was just space, and I was aware of myself, and I was almost like the clouds or like the environment of this space
Mm-hmm.
in like this completely different dimension. And I just remember
That's what it feels like on deep mushrooms for me.
Yeah. So, and you know, you can only like
So you're in the space, and then what happened next? Like,
it's hard to remember like the fine details because it's just so much happening at once.
Yeah.
I just remember being in the space for a little bit, trying to just reconcile what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
You know, I know I'm tripping. I know it's the salvia, and I don't know how long I'm in that space for.
Yeah.
I just remember being there.
just thinking those thoughts, like feeling like you're floating.
yeah,
yeah.
just floating. I don't know. I was just a space, so
Yeah.
I don't know what that.
Just
yeah.
all mental then, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like suspended.
Suspended, yeah, almost
Yeah.
like that. And then I remember seeing visuals like fractal patterns coming in, like waves coming, just moving, right? And yeah, that was pretty much the entire trip. I fell asleep after that, but that sequence of the trip I will never forget because it's
Yeah.
just so intense. Like
Yeah.
completely, just like boom, you're in a completely different space. You have no body.
Yeah.
I
you
think,
know?
and you know,
Yeah.
that's my theory with that space is because that's for me. I think that's the same space. That's like when people go into those deep ketamine realms. It might not be exactly
Similar,
the same,
I
but they're
feel
in
like, yeah.
they're in a similar dimension. Or like deep mushrooms. Like for me when I do deep mushrooms, it's like how what Minix is describing exactly. It just longer. I think it's prolonged. Like you're in there longer. And that's I think. Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't know where I'm gonna go with
Do
that.
you guys want to know the technical kind of background of salvia?
Yeah,
Just
sure.
go down. And this is great because you describing your experiences, and it feels like it aligns a lot with how it works because it's an opioid. It contains opioid-like compounds that induce a hallucination. So like, it almost looks like just like ketamine, where you get totally disassociated with your body because an opioid will make you so like at ease, disconnected. But it's opioid-like apparently.
Yeah.
But because of that, you get hallucinations. It's all mental. And I've spoken to people who've taken massive doses, and they've gone to deep K-hoes, and some of their most profound psychedelic experiences have been from this kind of trip where they're totally disassociated with their physical body, and it's like this mental space, this suspension of that world, and you're in this different world that's
Yeah.
just, and also influenced by probably some compounds in the drugs as well. But I think the whole notion of maybe suspending yourself from this existence and like
Into
through
some like astral realm.
like through opioid like substances that like make your body, you don't feel your synapses
The
like,
tryptamines.
from the rest of your body,
Yeah.
or like in here with ketamine where it just makes you so dissociated from your body.
Yeah. That's like a same with the ketamine, like similar to like mushrooms and I think DMT, all those drugs.
Yeah.
You go so far out there that you're completely disassociated. So I think you are going to the same place,
It-
nonetheless.
And do you feel like because you get pushed so far that like part of it could be so intense for people because it's so liberating to have only just your consciousness be the existence of what you are at that moment?
I think that's the scary part for first timers to
People,
go deep.
yeah,
Yeah, because a lot of people that don't have psychedelic experiences or even do meditation or anything along those lines, they recognize themselves as their body, right? It's
They're-
tied into
Yeah.
who
They have a
they're-
strong identity tie to
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
physical being.
So if you're
who they are.
gonna experience, an existence where you have no body, then you're just completely,
at a loss.
yeah, and you have
Yeah.
to try to
Yeah.
reconcile that, right?
Yeah,
You have to come. I think at least for me, I had to come to dues with not having my life anymore. Like if I didn't exist or like this basically doesn't exist. Like I came to that conclusion like this is like yeah I knew I'm gonna probably snap out of this and everything's gonna go back to normal and this is all that, but like from this perspective none of this actually exists.
Right.
And it's just like, but we have these individual experiences and we cherish them and we like, we try to like have a lot of like love and joy in life. I think that's what most people go for, but really it's like you're not. At least to me, it
You're
was
not really
to me.
here
I had to come to terms with like, that's I could. I'm not actually. I don't know. It's hard to even like explain or wrap your
I
mind
think I
around.
know what you're trying to say. It's kind of like, you subjectively value your life and your place in this world.
Yeah.
But having that other perspective of just a completely alien perspective, it's just like it doesn't even matter like your
Yeah,
existence from
like
that
nothing,
perspective.
like basically nothing
Oh,
matters.
Right. So it's almost like this
Oh, it does matter.
contradiction of like perception where you have your
Yeah.
subjective perception of your place in this life, and now you have this other perception of this completely
Alien.
space
Yeah.
where you mean absolutely zip.
Yeah.
It's just like, but having those two in your mind is just like that
I
dynamic.
don't think.
right?
Well, at least it means absolutely zip to what you're viewing. Like if you're looking
Right,
at this
right.
this realm where you're at now, that means nothing to you anymore.
Mhm.
Like it does, but I think, at least for me, the drugs made me come to terms with it. I had to come to terms with it.
Mhm.
Because it was, to me, the drugs were showing me, to me, when I do like a lot of mushrooms, just my intuition is that it's showing me reality. You know what I mean? Like it's unveiling raw reality, and it's up to
Yeah.
me to try and capture it and make something out of it, right? You know, I could choose to listen to it. I could choose to ignore it. And if my intuition goes to it, and I'm gonna listen to it, I gotta just kind of roll the dice, listen to it, see what happens.
Lean
right?
right into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And shit, I forgot where I'm going. I'm kind of high right now.
All right. Well, I think that was a pretty good talk on. Well, that started off at meditation. We were into drugs, and then into
Personal
metaphysics.
right.
Yeah, personal experience with drugs,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and
pretty
the
good.
whole nature of consciousness and our planes of existence in this universe that we inhabit.
Just a taste of the things we'll be talking about on this
In
podcast.
future
Yeah.
episodes, absolutely.
Do you guys want to move on to current events?
Yeah, I was just thinking that actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, anyone have anything they want to bring to the table right away?
Mm.
I mean, the only thing that comes to my mind right now that a lot of people know about is the coronavirus
Right.
Yeah.
pandemic. Maybe not pandemic yet, but that whole issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, interesting. So like, there's probably no tie at all, but the thing I wanted to talk about, but I don't feel like I know enough to really get in there,
Yeah.
is like Iran, the whole of the relationships with Iran and the rest of the world really,
Yeah.
and like current, like what's recently happened over the last month or so,
Yeah.
month and a half, and but yeah, they've just had 4 deaths from the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually, from I guess what I've been reading, it's actually like pretty bad in Iran right now. It's
Yeah?
like spreading, like quite rapidly.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
But we're just not hearing about it because there or maybe there.
Well, we
news
are hearing
outlets
about it.
yeah.
Like every time I look at Twitter, I do see something about it. Like people are
Yeah.
talking about it.
Okay, so
But-
they haven't blocked out the internet.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
You're probably not seeing it in like the news stream. You might. I don't know. I don't watch.
And
news.
I don't know
Yeah.
how like accurate the numbers they're putting out are.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, state numbers are always a little dicey because
Yeah.
they
Well,
gotta
if
have
four-
it- they
four
have
people-
interest,
Image,
yeah.
4 people. Like I don't know what the time span is, but maybe like 4 people died in a short period of time, but maybe like 20 or 30 contracted.
Yeah.
And if those rates are going up, maybe it could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
But shit's just not right there anyway. Like,
Yeah,
there's-
you mean their whole
with the- just
political
with the whole-
situation?
with the whole current
instability.
events, and
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
like I said, I don't really want to get too into it right now, but I think there's moves being played on the board, and our perception of those moves are like fuzzy at best.
Right, because like the players who actually play the game are probably using misdirection and
yeah.
different
Yeah.
subtle tactics to throw off the mass public as to what's.
Sounds like you guys got
Yo,
some
like,
good
yo,
conspiracy hats
Yeah,
on.
Are we coming through that
we're gonna
rabbit
touch
tunnel?
some. We're gonna touch some conspiracy soon. Like when we bring this up, we're probably gonna get into some some theories. That we're not like I'm not so fully sold on anything, but I
Right,
might.
or like the
but-
narrative.
So
of
when I
what's
discuss
happening.
something, take it like not with a grain of salt. Like I'm serious about where I'm going with it, but I don't might not necessarily subscribe to it. So we're gonna go into some weird places probably, but don't get
just be
too-
open-minded.
don't be scared off by it.
Take everything we talk about conspiracy theories with a massive grain of salt. 'cause we
Massive,
will
massive.
be talking some wild,
a grain
wild,
of salt,
wild
a
shit.
grain of salt, but consider it, because
a considered grain of salt.
take it with consideration, take it with consideration, but take it serious consideration, because at least me personally, if I'm gonna go into something, I'm going at it with a perspective like this is a strong possibility.
Right, you thought it through.
So
Oh.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
present something that's so wildly not possible.
So semi-plausible at worst.
I'm not gonna suggest anything that can't be done. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna suggest something that's so wild, it's not worth even looking to. If something's
Okay.
possible to
Yeah.
pull off, then I think it's worth.
Investigating.
And things are lining up that point that direction. I think it's worth investigating. Right?
Mm.
Even if it sounds fucking wild, a lot of things sound wild at first, and then later on, it's like, oh, that was so wild actually.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah, it's kind of like how Galileo said the sun was actually at the center of our, was it galaxy or?
Or you mean our solar system?
Our solar system,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, you're a madman, kill him.
and turned out to be
And
true.
Turned out to be true.
That's what's up. It's good
So
analogy.
yeah, back to the coronavirus.
Okay, yeah.
And it's, I mean, we aren't overly affected here. Up
No.
in
Yeah.
we'll just say Canada, British Columbia. We're allowed
But
to
the
say
cases
that.
have been going up.
Yeah, I think we're at 6 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and
I-
no, wait, the craziest thing about the 6th case here is
Yeah.
that it was from a woman who had just recently visited Iran.
Yeah, that's what I heard
Mm.
about the whole Iran
Mhm.
shit. Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty.
that's crazy, man.
I've
That's
heard that
crazy.
it's transmitted primarily through fluids right now.
And wasn't
Mhm.
she in Iran just before all like the shit happened too? That's
Yeah.
when she went.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, the incubation period's anywhere from like 10 to 14 to 20 days, right? Really
Yeah,
circumstantial.
a wide
location.
range, exactly.
Yeah, but it does have a long period. That's a constant. It seems like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's funky too, right? Because like, if it was a quick incubation period, then you can catch it and then contain
Right.
and secure and treat,
Mhm.
right? But because
Yeah.
it takes so long, where do you divert the resources, right? Like, how do you not like you don't know the
It gives it a long window of branching that you can't account for.
yeah,
Right,
you,
right.
you don't know the efficacy of your operations until things start turning 10 days later, right? And then you might have been spending all your resources 10 days in the wrong spot. And now maybe you're even at less data than before. Anyways, you can't be at less data than before, but you guys get what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, you can take steps backwards.
Yeah. You might be misinformed and now you're misdirected.
Yeah.
And you continue down like a red herring. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting to see what coronavirus is doing through the global health system because imagine if this was like a zombie epidemic, right?
How do you feel about it though? Like in the whole global, like
I mean, right
sense,
now,
like-
it's
How we've
wrecking global
responded?
economics for a
Yeah.
lot of countries. Even car manufacturers are affected. They
Yeah.
can't get parts for their cars because a lot of their
Yeah.
parts are being
There's a
manufactured
lot
in
of
China.
economic costs, like the
100%,
whole silicon industry with the. Well, it's because the crazy thing is that
I didn't
after
even think
Chinese
about
New
that
Year's,
too much.
everyone went home. After Chinese New Year's, everyone went home. But if you're already home during the midst of the coronavirus outbreak, you're probably going to be locked down in your hometown as well. So that means
Right.
people, they may not be in their location where they need to live to work. And so even if factories did open up again in limited runs, they may not be the employees there to actually operate the said factories. Because they're all at home because they all went back home for Chinese New Year's, which the outbreak started gaining momentum during the course of New Year's.
Right.
So, or rather, the implementations by the Chinese state in trying to contain the situation were actioned after New Year's, where everyone was already staying
That's
at
when
home.
it became like spectacle
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, but yeah, because of that, like, even if they wanted to operate the factory, then they may not have the labor for it. What's interesting too is that like it's affecting like countries like Thailand, their tourism, their biggest tourism is from China, as is Japan. Biggest tourist numbers are from Japan. I mean, from China, I mean. And that's going to have a perceptible impact on their tourist-heavy economies. And, like, the spillover
It's probably,
effects.
I think it's probably affecting everyone. Like, probably affecting Australia,
Yeah.
I would imagine. I think it's affecting us. Because I can imagine, like, a lot of industries depend on imports from China.
Yeah.
So it's like, if they're not getting their materials and imported, it's like,
Yeah.
they're not
Their
doing.
industry is going
their-
to, those specific industries will come to a slow
Yeah.
halt.
Yeah.
And like even personally tying to me, I had planned a trip to Thailand,
Yes, Min has planned a trip to Thailand.
and now because of this, and here's the funny thing though, I was planning to go in April during the Songkran Water Festival, but because of this whole coronavirus scare, I feel like if I were to go, that would probably be the absolute worst timing possible.
piss.
Totally, yeah.
Because you're in an environment where everyone is together. This is when probably some of the like greatest number of tourists come, and a lot of them are from China. Just saying.
And if the primary method of transmission is through fluids, and this is the water festival,
You're almost guaranteed. Almost, I feel to
to
get.
exchange some kind of fluids.
It may not be
so
the best time to go.
May not be the
so,
best time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cancel trip, unfortunately.
That sucks a lot, dude. That's a
Yeah, I was
major
looking forward to it.
major bummage.
Yeah.
Major bummage.
Yeah, because I mean, I definitely didn't foresee this happening.
Yeah.
It came out of left field.
But I hope I
Mhm.
hope everything turns out fine. Like I don't Like I don't want things to develop any worse. I think that's a pretty common take on the whole situation. But
I mean, who would want to, in the right mind, have this
Yeah.
develop into a far worse situation?
well, there's always those people who are just so adamantly like, let's say either anti-Chinese or
Right.
like either from a racist point of view or from like a geopolitics existential threat to like American hegemony perspective. 'Cause some people are like that when it comes to these kind of like global situations. Like
Mhm.
they'll take any chance to get right at China. I'm not a fan of China either,
Mhm.
in terms of geopolitics, but I think that is a thing that's you're seeing as well, like especially online with memes,
Like xenophobia.
xenophobic stuff, yeah, and it's interesting. It's
That is
interesting.
interesting.
Well, what do you think of that, man?
I feel like that just ties into maybe human nature of like, just finger pointing and wanting to use something to have a green light to,
To excuse your poor behavior, we're talking
Right.
about like potential or actual documented like xenophobia that stems from the whole coronavirus situation against like Asians and Chinese
Mhm.
people.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a piss too, so I'll be right back.
Yeah, like I don't look at the news much, but I did see. I think I saw it on Twitter actually, but there was a global news. Oh, I got turned on to it by Twitter, and then I watched it on global news platform. I think it was global news. Anyways, it was a local news, and they were pushing this story that like because of the coronavirus that there was like a lot of racial issues, and maybe that's true in like some areas, but like the way they were pushing it was like, oh, the Lower Mainland, Vancouver, and it's like in the course of that week I had been like in Surrey,
Observing, right.
downtown. I had been like all over like the Lower Mainland. I wasn't in Abbotsford or Mission or anything like that, but I was covered a lot of ground,
Mhm.
and I didn't see any of that.
anything.
I didn't see anything remotely close to that.
Yeah, and like even in my current day to day, going commuting back and forth from work, and I'm using the public sky trains, and I really don't see any any altercations or any.
And those are if there was gonna be a place for that to happen with coronavirus being like the pushing force, like the cause, that's the place you would see it in confined public spaces like
Mhm.
sky trains and public transportation, and that's not what you see.
Yeah.
You'll see like any random number of people, handful of peoples all mingled together in a tight quarterly space, just minding their business, just chilling, like
Mhm.
at peace, if not having a conversation or talking, like
Yeah. Nothing.
which is a little
nothing
more
out of the
rare these
ordinary.
days.
Yeah.
Everyone's like plugged in their.
Yeah, no, it's true. Everyone's plugged in these days, and like you see a handful of people wearing masks, but nothing overly hysterical
Yeah,
yet.
No. I gotta say one funny thing. There's these like group of kids. So this group of kids. I think I was going to the gym, or I was meeting Ray to go to the gym. And
Bet that's gonna get picked up on the audio. Sorry
I
for
think
that,
it-
viewers.
probably the loudest, right? It's authentic Vancouver.
It is. Anyway, sorry.
Oh
back to
shit!
your
I
story.
said. Oh, we'll cut that. We'll cut
That's
that.
fine.
We'll bleep it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just gotta find it in the timestamp. Anyways,
Oh
107.
yeah, I was saying I was meeting up with Ronaldo, and like there's this group of kids wearing masks, and they're just such kids, man. They were just so like unaware of their actions.
Yeah.
And this fucking one kid, he's like wearing a mask, talking about getting hand sanitizer because he needs to wash his hands. I think they're coming from basketball or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so you're all worried about this virus, you're all worried about this, and apparently the masks don't even really help. At least unless you get like some specialized one maybe. But and then so this kid's all worried, but then he's like talking to his friends and he has like his like fingers in his mask, and I'm like, he's just so unaware of what he's doing.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, you've like had your hands all over like public shit. You just came. I'm pretty sure he came from basketball, so he's like, just had his hands everywhere. And he's talking about how dirty his hands are and how he needs sanitizer.
He's just like rubbing his face. Like,
But
oh
then
man, my hands are so
Yeah,
dirty
as
now,
soon
man."
as soon as his
Fuck.
attention diverted to something and he wasn't like really paying attention to what he was doing,
Yeah.
he just had his hands all on his shades, like itching his nose, and
Oh,
I'm like,
man.
dude, you just like if there's any contaminants, your mask is contaminated.
People.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm ripping that kid, but hey, man.
Nothing personal.
Little noob, yeah, nothing personal. Just pointing out, little noobs. Don't be a little noob.
Don't be a little noob.
Meditate, man. Meditate. Be aware of what you're doing.
And
Aware of your surroundings. Be conscious.
Yo, do you guys want to talk a little bit more about mental fitness? Like, what is mental fitness to you, and what goes into it?
You want to go back to like the whole
Mm.
mental conscious?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm
let's
really
talk about it.
I'm
Let's
really
talk
into
about
that topic.
subject,
Yeah.
All right. Well, yo, you take the lead. Mental fitness.
Okay, mental fitness. So, what I think mental fitness is, and I haven't thought about it too much, just more of a recent, like, I think about aspects of it a lot, but it's only been like the last couple days because of our, the other flow bro, John Reckwick,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, gave the insight to it. And it's the whole just taking care of like your mind and your conscious and like being aware and like, I think it could be a lot, like what comes from it can be a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I think it's just ultimately just being in control of your perception and not letting outside things like kind of creep in and essentially
Yeah.
siphon like your focus off from you, right? So
Mhm.
what it looks like or like how you can exercise it. I mean, meditation is a big one. Meditation is like a physical to me. Meditation is like the workout. It's like and same with breath work. I just recently started doing the Wim Hof stuff
Mm-hmm.
because of John, and I think that's more of like that's kind of like a meditation too. It's similar. I think it's kind of a bridge. It's like that's kind of like to me like a bridge between meditation and what I'm about to say is like the medication. So like the drugs. There's
Yeah.
like that form too. It's like you don't need drugs, but it's almost like a medication, and it's like you can use it as a tool to even explore.
And just like the Wim Hof, it's another tool to
Yeah.
reach that kind of state.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
Wim Hof is like a natural tool of using the body's ability to naturally reach those states.
And so I think that goes into the way I see is that there's a very mental way, and there's a way of through physical stimulation, physical conditioning, physical expression that allows us to get to that same state.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's through the Wim Hof or through psychoactive drugs, or through even just other forms of meditation or asceticism, we can hit those same states.
Similar states, I think. I feel like meditation, you can. I don't feel like I've gotten good enough at meditation to be able to like say how far you can go and like
Yeah.
where you can reach with it.
But reading from like historical accounts of like certain monks.
But reading
and
from like super
practitioners.
disciplined practitioners and from my own experiences of what work I have put into it, like I feel like it's a comfortable assumption that you can reach some pretty deep psychedelic states. But the difference is that they might not be as profound. I feel like you're not getting as much thrown at you. Like you're not getting tossed in the tumble machine, kind of just getting thrown around kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what does come to it is like really stable formed. You're able to perceive it. You're more able to like you're in it kind of like in slow motion. Whereas like when you do drugs, it can kind of get thrown at you, and you have no control of the rate at which it's coming at you.
Yeah. There's a
And
conductor, and he's
Yeah.
taking
and that's
the reins
the
there,
conductors
yeah.
of drugs, and the drugs dictate what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas like when you meditate, I feel like you have more. Yeah.
It's more like a lazy river,
Yeah.
and you're on a pretty sick floaty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just have more control. You could, like, I don't know how deep you can go. You can do whatever you want. You probably, I have a theory, or I suspect that you can potentially reach like astral travel through meditation.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, just through like experiences and other people's experiences. But yeah, that's what I think I think those fall under like mental fitness construct, whatever that is. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Another one I think is challenging your mind. So like putting that focus to application.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
like the free flow, like doing something, like get into that free flow state and doing
Mhm.
something that achieves something or has like a end result.
Yeah. Something that's a bit more. It's a step in more complexity than just meditation.
You're bringing that shit into like physical reality.
Yeah, like you're thinking and then you're actualizing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Because yeah, there's a degree of separation between thinking and then actually actualizing what it is that you want to do,
Mhm.
and it may not always be as a one-to-one from thought to action as
Mhm.
you'd like it to be.
Mhm.
And I think in practicing that, oh sick, it's important. And but mental fitness, like that, yeah, that is a way of practicing mental fitness too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's almost like that's what you would practice mental fitness for. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Oh,
Like-
to be better in those circumstances.
To be
Right,
to be
right.
better at like manifesting, the flow of like your
The flow, yeah.
conscious into reality. Like
Yeah.
whatever you want. Like that's why it's so important to have control of your conscious. Because if you have other people in your head, other ideas in your head, propaganda in your head, and it's not authentic
Right.
your thoughts, those things are taking over the manifest, like the power to manifest.
Yeah.
The more clear your own vision is, the more easily you're going to be able to execute that vision,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Oh,
Exactly.
so I feel like recently, thanks for the introduction of Audible,
Yeah.
that has actually been a new source of mental fitness for me. Just playing audiobooks and when I have some free time or some downtime. I feel like it's stimulating my mind,
Yeah.
and I've definitely noticed some positive like benefits. Like actually, no, I've 100% noticed positive benefits like mentally.
Totally, yeah.
Like like increase in vocabulary over just hearing words I've never heard before, and just re-stimulating, I guess, my
The learning part of your brain.
Yeah,
Because maybe like I
exactly.
feel like you haven't done a deep dive into like academia in a long time. Maybe not since high school. And so that for you, that must be like a very rich and rewarding
Oh, absolutely.
educational experience right now. Like you're probably you're
You're like
you're eating it
reawakening.
up.
You're like
You've
reawakening
already
the learning
read
system. You know what I mean?
Italo Seneca
Exactly.
Volume 1 like 6 times now.
Yeah,
right?
like 4 to 6 times.
So
That's awesome.
highly recommended. Tao of Seneca. Check it
Yeah.
out.
Nice.
yeah,
I think a lot about like one of the big benefits of that too is like once you like, at least this was for me. It took a while, but like once you kind of get back in the flow and you figure you're like learning like how to learn now. Shit, I kind of forgot where I was gonna go with this, but like oh yeah, like once you kind of like tap back into it and you learn to appreciate what it means to like pick up a skill or do something like that, I think you become a lot more aware of how you manage your time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then once you realize, wow, I could do this in like this amount of time, and I could do this amount of time. Wow, I could do a lot of shit.
You have a great-
I
yeah.
could achieve greatness in a lot of areas. Like I could not be bound to any one thing. I could do a lot. Like, but if I use my time wisely,
Yeah.
or like whatever, right? You can just do whatever. You can do whatever you want.
Do you think it's
That's crazy.
possible to be on? You know, like, and what I mean by on is like always focused, always completing tasks.
I
always
think it is
completing objectives.
possible, but I think it's
Yeah, like 100% of the time. You
yeah.
think?
I think it's possible, but I don't think it's ideal. I
Yeah.
think it would
Yeah,
destroy
okay.
relations, or it would have a very high chance of destroying relations. Like
Yeah, I feel like from aspect or a perspective of like getting things done objectively, that's a great state to be in all the time.
Yeah.
Applies to work and whatever
But
projects you're trying to
why
achieve.
not extend that things to
Right.
achieve objectively be like relationships, like pursuing.
you know, I think it could be
Yeah.
on all the time, and that's the always being like in control of like your perception kind of thing. You're always being aware, always being in the moment kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, you can. I think the key to it all, or like what makes the complete package is like being able to change the filter, so you can have that social filter, or
Right.
you could have that like discipline work mode filter. Like depending on the
Exactly.
situation, you have the tool to pop in, and like you're in that mode.
Because like being on in that maybe like that sort of a mode may not be conductive in like a social setting, like a birthday, and you're out drinking with your friends. Like, how are you gonna be
Well,
on?
let me frame it to you. Like, what
Okay.
about you want to be on 100% time for making witty ass motherfucking jokes?
See, that's a
Getting the
different
fucking flow
filter.
going.
That's a different
So,
filter.
okay.
right?
so if you get into your flow state and you develop a flow state in that realm of just being witty and kind of like goofy or whatever,
Yeah.
then you have, once you've developed that, then you have that tool set, and then when you can turn that on. But it's all mental choice, right? It's like you have to decide what tools you want to acquire, and think about what you want to be, or what how you want to shape yourself, and then you can turn those things on. So it's like, but if people don't even realize that they can do this, if they don't realize they can build up their skill set and be more, like they can be, like you could really be anything you want to be, really. You just have to know that it's, and we could be completely wrong about this like theory and model of like being able to just turn things on, like being like, it's all like, at least this is where I'm coming from, is like it's all kind of like a meditative like base state, and then you're just throwing on like what you want on. It's kind of like an operating system as far as, like the operating system's not even choosable. It's the operating system that life gives you. It's just choosing to be aware and like you know what I mean, like.
Yeah, I feel like meditating allows you to practice being able to reach that base level of I guess, conscious awareness of where everyone should be. Where, in that, for example, at this base level, you have no clutter of thoughts. You have control over your thoughts. Some people have those problems where they can't, quote unquote, they can't shut off their mind.
Yeah,
They're
I
like,
know a handful of people that complain about that.
yeah, and like for me, I don't understand it because, I mean, I do understand it that used to happen to me too.
Yeah.
But after meditation, you're able to control it because essentially those thoughts are stemming from you, and the fact that you can't control something that's stemming from you, it kind of doesn't make sense. So
It sucks the energy out of you. It sucks the life out of you.
yeah,
I think it sucks the creativity out of you. It sucks like a lot out of you.
yeah, it's just mental distraction, mental fog, right?
Yeah.
And like mental noise, I call it. And so meditation allows you to basically just turn off that noise. So having that base level of clarity to operate in is just a better state to be
The
in.
way I like to think about it is when you turn all the crap off, it's like pulling up Task Manager on your computer and closing unnecessary programs.
Yeah, that's a
And
good
every time you
analogy.
close one, you have more RAM space and computational power to run on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
on
Well,
important
exactly.
that's why they say multitasking is actually suboptimal to be doing. Because
Unless you only need suboptimal results for everything.
Sure, oh, that's true. Yeah, like
That's a-
if
that's
you're
a
like
caveat, that's true.
you're doing something that's really rote and
Yeah.
routine, like laundry or something, and then cleaning up the bedroom. Anyways, but yeah, because you only have so much bandwidth, right?
Mhm.
And because of that, and there's a further diminished factor from not only are you giving it less bandwidth, but I think the quality of the bandwidth is worse off too.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And so when you guys see when you guys see people like talking about meditation, about mental fitness, how do you guys try to, because it's such a subjective thing, how do you guys try to discern what is signal, what is noise in that discussion, right? What is worthwhile to listening to, and what is like, oh, that's crap.
That's just
Pseudoscience.
I feel like for me, meditation, it's just like cultivating your consciousness and your and your levels of awareness. And the deeper and the higher level of meditation you can achieve, the deeper and higher level of awareness you can obtain. In that, where once you reach a solid level of control, you're able to better utilize your assets and your tools. And for example, like your mind and is an asset. It's a tool. It allows you to generate thoughts, ideas, projections of how things are going to be, certain outcomes, or like solutions to problems. Like it's so you're able to better control your tool instead of letting the tool like have spam and just spam you with shit.
Yeah.
It's that's how I would frame it.
That's how you.
Mhm.
That's an analogy that works for you in
Mhm.
interpreting how this phenomena comes about.
Phenomena.
Phenomenon.
Phenomena.
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 But,
Okay.
I think so. Like, I think the bullshit, the horse shit
Yeah.
of it all, is like anyone who's trying to like sell you like, I don't know. If someone's just like whole thing is like, yo, I got the key to success, or I got like the way, like I got the answer, if that's how they're coming at you, I'd be wary. I don't think it's necessarily wrong, because honestly, if you have control, if you do follow these principles, if you do become a master at controlling your mind, I think you do have the keys to success. You'll reach your optimal success. If you're gonna be at your optimal state, right? At least that's my perspective.
Yeah.
But I just think, yeah, so like the bullshit artists, or the people to be wary of, are people I think that are overemphasizing, or like being very angelic of it, or
Angelic?
Almost like a crazy cult leader,
Oh.
I'm probably using the
They're
wrong
evoking
word.
like a lot of like
I'm probably got the word twisted, or using the wrong word.
like false or like religiosity, like kind of cultish.
Yeah.
Like they
kinda like
they only
dynamics,
gas you
yeah.
up on it. It's all about gassing you
Oh,
up. you
I
know?
like that. Yeah. Yeah.
So if someone's coming at you and they're just gassing you up, and that's a huge red flag.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think
Or they're putting you down a lot, but they're kind of like
if the
gaslighting you on gassing you up.
like a condescending gas.
Yeah. Yeah. Or a patronizing one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
Kind of like with like Scientology, right? Ooh.
They
Like,
they,
it's
they
targeted by
shame they
Scientology
shame
now.
you. They
But,
shame you and then they gas you.
Yeah, they're like, oh, look at your e-meter. You have all these thetans in you, and you gotta clean them. And so just tell us all your secrets.
Yeah.
And
And this is the
well,
path.
This is the path.
Not that like I think a lot of meditation people are gonna be like, hey, tell me your secrets.
Yeah.
but you know I don't think they're as conniving. But no, and then I think the people to listen to is anyone who. I think it's tough. It's tougher to identify someone to listen to. You can almost listen to anyone because if you just.
Well, if it reconfirms like your convictions.
But to
about
subscribe
something,
to, like, you can listen to a lot of. I think that's the important thing. You should, if no one's raising like red flags and they pass all your like general tests.
Yeah.
I think you should listen to everyone, but like people that you subscribe to should. I think, you'll just know. Like I think people that you should subscribe. Well, actually not.
Well, you have like a gut feeling.
You do gotta be careful.
Yeah.
Because you can get tricked. You can definitely get tricked. People know what people are gonna cling to, and they can manipulate that.
Yeah.
Definitely, like you see it all the time with like fake YouTubers. Like someone could have built up this audience to like, for like many years, and he had this huge following, and the next thing you know, you find out it was all phony and just like they were just stringing people, right? So you do have to watch out for that. But like, I think you would just feel it. Like you would know, because if you've gone that far, then you resonate to you might not understand it, but you resonate to the truth of it, and you're gonna be able to tell that person also is resonating from that same truth.
you're gonna be able to smell the bullshit.
Yeah, it makes you self-aware.
Right. So that's a pretty good first episode, I'd say.
Yeah, I feel like we should call a
We
wrap
talked a
on
lot
that.
of shit.
Yeah, we really covered our.
Covered our bases, I guess.
We covered good ground. I was gonna say, yeah. We did cover some bases. Yeah, we covered a lot of bases. I think on topics that I think we're all pretty passionate about, which is metaphysics, nature of consciousness, and drugs, and how influential that is in that whole equation. We did a little bit of current news. I think for our listeners here, whoever may be listening, I think this was a good introduction to how Billy, Min, and I myself, Brandon, think.
Yeah.
This is a taste of Flow Bros. We hope to hear you.
Just a little taste.
Just a little taste, yeah.
Just a little
And
taste.
you know, I'm gonna give you each a closing statement, just because.
Okay.
Give it a little touch, because this is symbolically a pretty big deal. This is our first episode. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yo, Bill.
All right, like so like I said, yeah, you got a little taste of what we're all about, and if you stick around, I think you'll find some pretty interesting conversations about, everything from like art, engineering, to like the influence of drugs and the influence of the people, like lots of different influences.
Yeah.
And just some interesting stuff. I don't want to give too many thought streams away. Vin?
Yeah, just want to say thank you to anyone that's out there listening.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I hope you guys tune in for the next episode, and hope you guys enjoyed today's discussions. And hopefully see you again on the next episode. Brandon?
Yeah, me too. I want to say thanks to everyone who's out here listening to us, because I think it's really special for you to give some of your time to hearing us talk shit, more or less. And I think that's pretty. I really appreciate that. I think we all really do, because I think that's really special to give one of your most valuable resources, time, to us.
Yeah.
I was actually going to say, do you guys want to actually end this off with a cipher? I can put on a little beat, and then we'll just close out like
why
that.
Not? We'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
all right, let's see what
We'll
happens.
You always snip if you need it.
Snip, snip.
Snip, snip if it's bad.
All right, man. Do a little cipher and end this shit.
Yo, let's pick a dope.
You guys got any feel? You want to do some reggaeton? You guys want to do some like
just
trap shit?
Nice, like a nice simple tempo. Just like
yeah, some
older. Some simple, man.
Some simple.
Yeah.
Some.
Yeah, simple cipher beat.
Like simple, slow tempo. Something that we can just take our time and
play
like
a couple things and see if it sounds good.
We're beginners, man. This is our first podcast. We rarely rap. We used to rap a little more, but we haven't done it in years.
It sounds pretty chill.
Yo,
Oh.
Chilsky Beats.
Oh, okay. If it's just.
Yo, we're probably gonna hear a sample every little while, but it's alright, cause we're on an ample, and we haven't done this in a while, but we do it with a smile, we do it with a fling. I do it like I do it, and hit 'em with the bing bop. Bing bop, you can't drop my flow, 'cause I will drop these hoes in a minute, yo. 'Cause these people ain't on our level. They on another planet and I'm fighting with the devil. I'm out here in the cosmic flows. It's black and void, but I don't have no choice, so I gotta keep on going. With the flow bros, I do it and I'm rowing and I'm rowing. I pass the mic to Min.
Yeah,
Get it, my friend?
'cause I can see it. When I smile, you smile. Girl, you're the apple of my eye, and there isn't anything I wouldn't do for you. I'd even die, if it meant protecting, no disrespecting my foes, but you gotta go, 'cause that's how the way the things flows, yo.
Yo, I like that. I dig that with the fat gat, 'cause he protecting with the Smith and Wesson, and he be bustin', and he ain't no wussy, trust him. He be going and he flowing with the broin, and we smoking big O's, and we smoking lots of dope, and we getting real high. We gotta always fly, and we never getting dry, 'cause we juicy and we boosy, and we getting
Ooh.
hit it like a flutie.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, Billy. Selling it, oh, fucking Willy, illy. 'Cause Billy is fucking fresh as a dog. Woo! Yo, talking about meditation here. We're talking about good vibes and good celebrations. Gotta bring it back down to all the homies. 'Cause
Yo, because the homies that know me's. The homies
Yeah.
know me, true me, flow me, sow me. I sow through the fabric. It's static. It's addict. It's insane. I'm coming up with this shit just raw in my brain. I'm doing it slow like a train, taking off on the tracks, making packs with cosmic beans. Never know what I'm seeing. I hit the flow like a motherfucking Tyson blow to the spleen. You know what I mean? Man, my team is mean and I'm keen on reaching to the top. I won't flop, I won't flip. You can't touch me like a piece of jewelry that's dripped. Motherfucking got a codeine cup of sip. Sip, dip, flip, man. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah, know what I'm saying, yeah. Fuck. Billy A. Give me that flow. We repping though. Gotta
Yo.
make it swish, gotta make it break. Ooh.
Yo,
Yo, Billy, I'm astounded by the flow that you got going right there. It was fucking glowing. Didn't know what to make of it. It wasn't fake because it was fucking rap as shit. Hitting all the 50 hits. Billy got it. Really got it. Yo, Min, you're my friend. I'm gonna wrap up my buds. That's how I know, cause I'm doing big suds. Drinking all the days. Actually, don't drink that much because I hate breaking your sobriety. Yeah. Oh, straight edge shit. Actually, not because I've been vaping toking all night, trying to get all woke, trying to make my folks brighter.
yo,
Fuck.
yo, bro, those shit, the beat's over. But it ain't over, 'cause we doper than clover, leaves. Yo, we getting this green like spinach. Nah, fuck it.
We'll cut it there. Thanks
Fuck
for
it.
joining us on our Flow
Peace.
podcast. Peace.
Yo, better raps next time.
Better raps.